Join Carol Davies on Global Voice Radio, the host of Only the Best for You. Be a change maker and unlock the secret to your best life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Global Voice Radio show, Only the Best for You, here on Global Voice Radio. My name is Carol Davies, and I'm from the Passion Motivator Coaching Company. I am so pleased to share with you the best information and speakers about how you can be a change maker to make the world and yourself the best you can be. Today, I am so pleased to be interviewing Hannah Wade, who is also one of our wonderful Global Voice Radio hosts. Her weekly program is called The Roller Coaster Ride of Business. And Hannah is a very, very talented business entrepreneur who has a flourishing virtual assistance business called the Empowered Virtual Assistant. And she has recently launched an internet-based magazine, the Empowered Business Magazine. Hannah has several years of varied business experience, and she's found her true calling in helping other business entrepreneurs with their daily business needs, and also to have a medium where they can voice their concerns and be heard. So, welcome, Hannah. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
I was wondering if you could give our listeners a little idea about your background and how you came to become a virtual assistant.
Okay, well, I've always known that having a business is what I wanted to do. And my background is quite varied, to be honest with you, because I've gone from working in a pub as a waitress to a fish and chip shop, like serving takeaway to people, and then in working and a checkout cashier in a supermarket. I went from there to working in care, so I've had the whole variety of the customer service experience, and I've always been on something to do with computers. I've been doing the rotors in my retail job. I've been on the phone there, like all sorts of different bits and pieces, and because I spend a lot of the time on my computer, and I connected with some people, because I'd never actually heard of a virtual assistant before I connected with some people in a business group who explained what it was, and it just made sense from there that was what it was I wanted to do.
That sounds like an extremely sensible way to get a lot of different knowledge, and you've worked sort of in the support and customer care aspect of it. So
yeah,
and I would say from what you've when we talked before, that you really detected a need for business people to have support in their business operations in various ways, which is what I understand being a virtual assistant is about. So could you describe a few of the areas and services that you offer, as support and whatever for your clients?
I do their social media for some of them. For another client, I do newsletters. I offer admin support in her office because she's in the same town as I am. It's one of those things. If it's something that you need done, I do WordPress sites, but only like the basic WordPress. And I can do it using the Divi platform as well. And it's anything from tracking mileage to creating a newsletter to helping organise an event by sending out like digital invites and stuff, through to social media and newsletters and stuff.
So when you say you help them with social media, what does that encompass?
I can either create their graphics for them, and basically for that they will give me the quotes that they want to go on there and the type of pictures that they want, and then how many of these images they need. I then schedule it. Facebook has its own scheduler. For everything else, I normally use Buffer or Hootsuite, something like that. And I will schedule it for the timings that they want to come out. Instagram is more of an in the moment type thing, so I have to schedule it as literally post it as and when it's needed to be posted, as opposed to being able to schedule. And it's then just going in and checking on it, commenting on people's replies, passing on any information that is necessary to be passed on to the client, and making sure that their social media is constantly running smoothly.
I think from what you're saying, this is a very important area that a lot of business owners and business entrepreneurs, especially small business ones, they may not have a lot of experience with. So how do people tend to, find you and information about your services?
I've found all of the clients that I've had, bar one who was a personal recommendation from my cousin, in different Facebook groups. Mm-hmm. Most people, if you search for virtual assistants, a lot of them want them in their area, because although they're virtual, there is the office aspect, like the meeting up once a month to make sure that everything's running smoothly type thing. But it's typing it into Google and just seeing what comes up and then finding one that fits for you, because the way I do things for one person might not fit someone else. And with virtual assistants growing now, you find that there's a lot more offer in that type of speciality, so it's finding the one that you're after.
Have you ever come across a potential client that you felt you were not able to work with?
There have been a couple that I've worked with them, but as they like to micromanage, and I've been happy when they've ended type thing. Because for you to need a virtual assistant, you need to trust that virtual assistant, the person that you hire, because you're handing over an aspect of your business for them to take control of for you in a way. You don't want to be then worrying about it. The virtual assistant is there to make sure that they're doing those little tasks that you don't have time for, or the larger tasks that you don't have time for, so you can focus on the ones that bring in your clients. And I think if you're going to micromanage, a virtual assistant isn't one that you're really after.
I do agree with you. I know that, I don't work in that field, but I work with clients, and do coaching and various things. But
yeah,
I too have found that sometimes there isn't necessarily a good fit with a client. One can find that out, a little bit later, or you can sometimes even sense that if you're having a discussion, because I think in any business, if you're getting some help, you have to, in a sense, interview each other to see if it's going to be a good fit. And I think from what you were saying, it's a good idea to have a similar outlook on how you like to interact with each other, how you like to do projects and that. And if it's not a good fit, then it might be the best to say no thank you. And then what I try to do, because I have found sometimes I haven't been a good fit. I know people don't have the knowledge or, what they really need, and then give them, say, 2 or 3 referrals. Is that what you would do if, let's say, you found that maybe you just, either you were too busy or you just didn't want to take them on?
I would always try and help them find someone else. I know of a couple of virtual assistants that are in America, but I don't really know any that are UK based. it is becoming a thing over here. So there are virtual assistants, and I'm part of a networking group online that I could put a post in there that says, I've got a potential client that's looking for this, but unfortunately due to XYZ, I can't take them on, and give referrals through that way. But most of the groups that I'm a member of are US based, because while some of them in the UK are taking on virtual assistants, they want probably slightly more experience than I have. So I find that I actually get better take on with clients in the US.
That's quite interesting. So would you say then that the field of being a virtual assistant is quite international now?
Definitely. I mean, I've worked with someone who is in India. I've worked with US based and UK based. I've had inquiries from people in other areas, but due to scheduling and stuff like that, it's just not been a fit, because most people want someone on the same time zone as them.
And did you set up a formal contract with people about what you do, your expectations, their expectations?
I have a contract that I will write in there any bits that I've added in red, so that they can see it easily to check on it, and then they can tell me yes or no, we'll make changes, and nothing starts until everyone is fully happy with the contract.
Mm-hmm. And in the last couple of months, we've seen a lot of information about what they call GDPR, or the General Data Protection Rules of the European Union. Has that affected how you are going to be doing your business?
It has, in regards to the newsletter aspect of it. For me, my business isn't big enough, or it doesn't really hold enough data that it affects it too much, because it's obviously all about keeping clients' data private, and all of my files are secure anyway. I always go through that with my clients, and I think with the newsletter aspect of it, it's making sure that I have the double opt-in on the newsletter and stuff now, so that people they can sign up for it, and then as Ransom sounds, they have to then opt in an extra time. So they sign up for it, and then either get an email, or they have to click to say that yes, they're agreeing that this is what they're signing up for, to stop all of the spam and stuff coming through.
Because a lot of people also here in North America are finding they're affected by that, because especially for newsletters or data that they collect. And I've noticed it's been in the last week, there's been an absolute deluge of people saying, please click on this, update, whatever, if you want to still keep hearing from me. It's not because they're doing business, maybe say in North America, or maybe even Australia, somewhere else, but it's if they have international people who reside in the European Union countries, then that affects people in any part of the world. And yeah. I myself, I'm on the point where I'd like to start a newsletter and this and that. And this has really made me think before just jumping in. So someone, if you're looking, say, for a virtual assistant, should be quite aware of these things, shouldn't they?
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, it's been a massive influx of emails into everyone's inboxes, and I think it's at a time like that where you really find how far your data travels, and you find out who the parent companies are, which companies are under the same parent company when it comes to the big companies, because you get people coming to you in your inbox saying, please click to say you want to keep receiving this newsletter, and you're like, well, so I didn't sign up for it. But from a virtual assistant point of view, if someone was wanting to hire, say, myself for doing their newsletter, I would have to make it clear that they know that obviously all the new regulations that people from in Europe, because obviously whilst it affects it does affect all around the globe for those that have European customers. And so I think with them, it's making sure that they do know that they need to have a double opt-in that could just be an email as simple as saying, are you sure you want to sign up for this? And they click to say, yes, keep me on the list, or no, take me off.
Mm-hmm. So really, when you're offering virtual assistant services, you have to be knowledgeable in more areas than just business processes, it sounds like. Do you find it challenging to keep up with that type of aspect?
I do, because especially with GDPR, there were so many people like that were offering you the in knowledge type thing, and it was all completely conflicting. No one knew what was going on. Like, we were being told that it's this and it's this and it's this, and then someone else is saying actually it's this and it's this. Even our government website at one point had to, like, millions of people were saying that there were conflicting information.
I think it is definitely something to consider. I'm just thinking, if any of our listeners are thinking, oh, it'd be really cool to be a virtual assistant, that you might have a lot of, say, business experience or knowledge of this and that, but you really have to look at the long term. Do you find, like, as a virtual assistant, you're working mostly on your own, or what they call a solopreneur? How do you find it working like that? Is it different than working, with people?
It is different. For me, because I still have my career in care at the moment, because I'm only in just over the first year of being a virtual assistant. And it's one of those things, I can have a few days off from the care job and then be stuck in the house doing all of my virtual assistant stuff. And it is an eye-opener of what it's going to be like for me when I do become a full-time virtual assistant working from home. But there are so many aspects now that there's obviously the networking online. There are several networking groups in the town that I'm in. So once a week, twice a week, you can go and actually make those connections. And for me, I think it's more lonely in the fact that I'm the only one of my friends that is business minded. So I'm the only one that has my business set up, and no, I don't think sometimes my friends understand where I'm coming from in respects of I want the freedom to work for myself, because they're more uncertain. Obviously, being a virtual assistant or any kind of business working from home, it's uncertain when your next paycheck is coming in type thing. So they like the security of knowing where their bills are coming from, as opposed to myself, who likes the security of being able to work from myself and decide, yes, I want to work with that person, or no, I don't, or like, this is how much I'm charging for that. This is a day I'm taking off of.
Right. It's, I think it goes down to a mixture of a person's sort of makeup, their experience, the confidence that they can do things. Because some of us, we like to work in predictable 9-to-5 jobs, and that's great. And there are other people who flourish more on the challenge of setting something up, setting goals, seeing how it goes, building things. Would you say you belong more to that type of group?
Definitely. I mean, I've had a job for as long as I can remember. I've not been unemployed since I was able to get a job. And I think for me, it's been the whole, I've enjoyed the security aspect. I've enjoyed the friends that I've made. And in my current job role, I enjoy the helping others aspect. But for me, it's the challenge of knowing that there's a whole other world out there that's open to me. If I have my own business, I don't have to worry about booking time off to go on holiday. Like, I don't have to worry about having a sick day, because my business is on a computer, which goes on my lap. I haven't got to drag myself anywhere. I can work from my bed if need be.
No, I totally understand that, because I work from my home too, and it's such a different thing. I worked in large organizations for many, many years, and had this predictable 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job, and then finished doing that, and I thought, what am I going to do with myself? And then coaching presented itself, but it's exactly what you say. Each day that you get up, you really want to do it, because there's so many of us can be in jobs that we don't like, we sort of drag ourselves in, or you don't like the projects you're working on, or you don't like your coworkers particularly, but you have to do it because you have responsibilities. You have to pay your bills. You may have a family you need to, pay for. You have to save money for the future. There's many, many things you might be saving for. A house. So, to decide that you want to go into business for yourself, it's not a good idea. And I tell my clients that, to just quit and say, okay, I'm now going to do, whatever. You have to make a plan, which I think you are a good example of, because you are developing your online business, but you still have a foot in the regular working world. But I get the sense that as soon as you are able to make the online business have enough funds coming in, then that will be it. Would you say?
Definitely.
Uh-huh. And
I have a plan that I'm not going to be leaving my full-time work until I have at least 2, maybe 3 months of wages saved up, and until I'm making that exact amount back in again.
Mm-hmm. No, that is really, I think, sensible. I definitely work with, some business clients, and I've been doing this now for about 10 years, being in the coaching field. And it's just a question of, you need to work with people to get them clear on what they want to do, who they want to work with, their strengths, their talents. And you definitely seem to me, you know where you're going, you know what you like to do, who you want to work with. And to anyone listening, that is really so important if you want to start your own business, of any sort, to really, really know that that's what you want to do. It's just going to, when you wake up in the morning, you're just going to go, yes, I am getting up, and I've got all these wonderful things to do, different clients, different projects. And it's so much more motivating than, you get up and go, oh God, I've got to be into work, for 8 o'clock, 8:30, and you sort of drag. And I remember doing that many times. And it's just, I think it's wonderful. It's a whole different way of lifestyle too. You feel, I think, better. I think your health is better. Your stress is less. Would you have any comments on that?
Well, I mean, for me, the thought of going into business, whilst exciting, is scary as heck anyway, without knowing exactly like what it is you want to do, the types of people that you want to work with. And I mean, I have fibromyalgia, so doing the amount of work that I'm doing at the moment to get to the point where I want to be is an added stress on top. But I know that I'm going to get to that point where I could wake up one day and be like, oh my God, I don't have to leave the house today to go to work. I can do it so that I rest on the sofa whilst sitting with the laptop in my pajamas and know that I'm the comfiest I've ever been at work, whilst actually working on something that I've created myself. And I think that's the major perk of it all, is the fact that you end up doing something that you love, that you've created, you've built from the ground up.
Yeah, I quite agree with that, because when I like to work with clients, my company is called Passion Motivator, and I like to work with clients to find out what they really, really want to do in life. If things are not going the best, what they're really excited about, just like what you've said. And if you find that, and you can align your life, like business-wise and personally, around that, then life just seems to be so much better, and it takes off in a much more positive direction. So I get that sense from you that the virtual assistant future for yourself is very, very exciting, and it's drawing you forward because you have found what you really want to do and you're good at. And I think you are a very good example of someone who's found what they like doing. So, and another thing I wanted to explore with you too is I'm really excited to hear more about your Empowered Business Magazine, because we talked a little bit before and you said this is something fairly recent. So could you give us an idea of why you decided to start the magazine?
So when I was first starting up with my virtual assistant business, obviously I knew that being a virtual assistant is what I wanted to do. But growing up, I don't know if it's from watching too many of those movies, like The Devil Wears Prada, where you've got like that iconic business magazine editor. And it seemed a right fit to do the magazine as a business aspect side of thing, because it is one of the things I'm most interested in. And so I thought at first I'll search magazines for tips and ideas for setting up my virtual assistant business. And that's when I came across magazines that only had people that had already made it, not like the how-tos and the journeys along the way. And that's essentially what my magazine is. Whilst it has the success stories, it also has the, oh my God, business is so damn hard stories as well. Like, it has stories from the mum who brought her kids up, didn't do anything that she wanted to do until her kids were in college, or the single mum who set her business up so that she could be with her kids as they were growing up, or like myself, the one that's not a mum and knew that business was what she wanted to do from the get-go. And it went from a discussion in a business group on Facebook to then becoming an actual thing. And then it was like, crap, now I actually need to get content. I've found someone that I want to run this magazine with, and now I actually need stuff to put in it, because I don't know how many times I can keep writing the same stories over and over again before people go, well, we read that last month. And I sent out a tweet saying about a new business magazine looking to share these stories. And the next morning I woke up, I didn't think anything of it. It was a quick, oh my God, I need to set up a Gmail account now, because I'm sending out a tweet looking for stories and they need somewhere to send it to. And the next morning, this quickly made Gmail account from the day before had over 300 emails.
Oh my goodness.
And every single one of them had their story attached to it. And I didn't want to say no to any of them. And there was some on there that clearly weren't the right fit. So I had to send one back saying, I'm really sorry, we're a business magazine. We're not like looking for recipes, this, that, and everything else. But should you decide to go into business for yourself, please get back to us. There were stories from people that weren't offering their story but wanted to write. And it took, I want to say, 2.5 days to get through all these emails, because as soon as I replies were pinging straight back, and I was just like, oh my God, I have no clue how I'm leaving this chair and this computer to even go to the bathroom, let alone get a night off. Like, I forgot what my friends looked like for the space of a few days while I was setting this all up. We ended up taking a break because myself and the designer were both moving. We were in 2 completely different countries, but both decided that we were moving at exactly the same time without even talking about it to each other. So we then came back together in January, And it was obviously the right time, like the universe's way of working, because our numbers have been better this year than they have in the time that we'd originally set up. And whilst I still get about 30 emails a day, I mean, I cleared my inbox 2 days ago and I'm back up to 37 emails from people. So whilst I still get a larger volume of emails a day, they're the ones that are better fitting for the magazine, as opposed to 300 emails of having to wade through to find the actual stories. And it's all digital, so all the links are live, people can click straight through. And whilst it takes up a lot of time as well, so it's my full-time job, my virtual assistant business and the magazine, I'm publishing the stories that everyone was like, well, we never found any of this beforehand. We've gone to magazines before that didn't want to publish our story because it's not the story of how someone went from 0 to 100 billion pounds in so many seconds.
Well, that is quite an amazing story, because it sounds to me like you found a gap in the publishing field that, you know, smaller business people perhaps were looking for. But we can't all be published in, you know, the big magazines like Forbes and The Economist and, you know, other big things like that. But how do you think that idea came to you?
I think it was because I was looking for virtual assistant information that was in the UK, because obviously our laws are a whole lot different to US laws for some of like how we have to work and stuff like that. Like they're keeping tabs of different bits and pieces of, again, like people's data with the whole GDPR thing. And every magazine I clicked on didn't have a story from someone that was looking for the same sort of stuff, like, and had been through all of that. It was all stories of like someone's family who have given them money upon money upon money to keep their business afloat until they made it, or someone who's inherited a business and then has taken it to the next level. And I couldn't find any stories that I found inspiring at all. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I had no publishing experience before doing any of this, so it was a big shock to the system.
And how did you happen to connect with the person that you're doing the project with?
It was literally a post in a business group that says, I don't know if anyone has ever noticed this, but there is no magazine out there for the small business owner like us that are either just starting out or are still in the first 2 to 3 years like of running the business. We've not even hit that bit yet where we can be full-time from home. And she just actually happened to respond saying that it was something that she would always dreamt of doing, was designing a little magazine. So that's right. We then connected, had a chat over Messenger. It was a good 2 or 3 months before anything even started, just while we hashed out all the little bits and pieces.
So essentially, you have the content, and this other person has the technical knowledge. So the two of you have come together, and you have made the perfect team in a way.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that is just such an inspiring and amazing story, because if we didn't have technology now with internet, it's probable that such an idea perhaps wouldn't have, in years gone by, have been able to happen. But it just shows the speed of how things happen and how people need information, how they're hungry for it. So do you find that people are subscribing more and more to the magazine?
Well, this month we had on our relaunch bit, we had our first male cover star, because originally we had the magazine as Empowered Business Women's Magazine. But then obviously there was a whole section of the market, because men who work with women felt that they couldn't feature their stories because they were men. So when we came back as a relaunch, I was like, well, actually, we're going to scratch that and we'll open it up. We will feature men because they do go through what we go through when it comes to their business. And we had our first male cover star this month, and our figures are more than they were last month and the month before that and the month before that. So we're gradually growing by about 20 reads each month.
Well, I think that just, you've been doing it now, 6 months or a little bit more. So you're learning things, but already you're going in a totally different direction, because deciding not to have it just, for women, but opening it up for pretty much anyone, I think is quite a courageous decision to do, because you've opened up your niche a little bit more.
Yeah.
And do you see yourself maybe needing a virtual assistant in the future? Because it sounds like you've got so much on your plate.
I think when I get to the point that I'm working from home full time, and I'm at that point where I'm bringing in, because my goal is to bring in income. I don't want to have like a 16 million bedroom house and like the several different fancy cars. My goal is that I can be home full time, my bills are covered, I have money in savings, and I get to go on a holiday, because I can't remember the last time that happened. And that I don't have to worry about making ends meet before I make a purchase of like a pair of shoes or whatever. Because I know that when you're starting out in business, that is always a massive worry. And I think when I've got to that point, I probably will end up taking a virtual assistant on, because for me, that point will mean that I've got the work that not only from my virtual assistant business that brings in the money, but the magazine that will require someone to sit there and trawl through all these millions of emails for me.
Essentially what's happened now, I guess in less than a year, you've got two businesses. You started out developing the virtual assistant business, but now you're in the publishing industry, perhaps somewhat unexpectedly, and yet the two of them are working together, it sounds like, because you are providing now sort of a conduit or an opening for, as you call them, the smaller than small business owner, the really aspiring ones who want to get started, and who maybe they don't necessarily want it full time, maybe like yourself, to start out, let's say 40-50% of the time and doing other things. And it's getting the knowledge and the confidence that they can indeed be in business and succeed. And then if they decide, they can take it to the next level. But it's not at the level that the larger business magazines report about. It's really people taking tiny baby steps and going forward. They know what they want to do. They have this goal. They meet it. Then they're on to the next one, the next one. So they're creating a plan for themselves, just like you are now creating a plan, probably a little unexpectedly, because I still think it's truly amazing when you put out one Twitter and you got 300 responses in a day. I mean, that is phenomenal.
It was a massive shock, that's for sure. And then when I was reading about where some of the people were from, and it was like people from Egypt and all over different areas of America, areas of Europe, like it was just there, and I was like, oh my God. And like this, like I sent out a tweet again 2 weeks ago, and I've ended up with people from Australia as well. And again, it's that whole technology thing. If we didn't have technology like we have it now, I wouldn't be able to feature half of these stories that I'm featuring.
So you have truly now got an international, global platform for people who can tell their story. But it seems to me too that from people, reading online your magazine, they'll say, oh, that person's doing something similar to me, or they've got ideas like me. Do you see people maybe connecting with each other because of that magazine? They read an article, and then do you give the contact details for the people?
We have a section on there. We always ask people that if they want their social media links or their website link or even their email address provided, to share it with us, because all the links are active, where it's either we publish it on 2 platforms. We have it on PayHip, so it's a download, and we have it on the platform Issue. So on both of them, the links are clickable. You can go click on it and go straight to the person's website from the article. If they don't send over any links, we can talk to them, we can pass their contact details on to the person who they're featuring and say, we've had this response to the magazine, can you get in touch with them? And then it's quite scary when you think about how, like you just saying then, it's like this global platform, and it is quite a scary thought. I know it's only a little global platform, but thinking about how many people from all across the world read it and get in contact to feature in it. I don't think until you said it just then I actually realised just how big that is.
Well, I mentioned it because my background before I became a coach was in information management and IT, and designing different contact systems and research, whatever. And it is truly amazing when people find something that answers their questions. It doesn't matter to them where people are located now with our technology. And of course, mostly the language of contact still is English, but more and more things are developing, in other languages too. But it is really something wonderful, I think, that you and your business partner have created, because this is just the beginning. And it I think is going to be amazing to keep tabs on how this develops, because I just get a sense of wonder from it. When you described that, I just got like prickles up and down my spine thinking, this is totally awesome.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I just almost can't find the words to express it. And I think it's such a wonderful way forward for what we would call, ordinary people who want to change their lives and do something different, especially in business, even if they don't have the exact training or things like that. But if you read something that inspires you, and then maybe you've got 1 or 2 people you want to contact and follow up because they could become a source of information or a mentor, or they could give you advice and say, well, I did this and this and it didn't really work. So, if it's something similar, maybe you could avoid if you don't do or whatever. So not only is it something you're just telling someone's story, you've now become an information referral network, which is amazing.
It is, and it's really scary to think about. I mean, from one thought, just because I couldn't find what I was looking for online, we've gone from having a meeting, a chat on Facebook Messenger, to a magazine that is read, and people from Australia and America and all across Europe want to feature in it, and it's quite scary.
It's scary, and yet it's what we would call over here in North America a good scary.
Definitely.
Because, what it is taking you personally to another level, and maybe your business partner to another level that you hadn't necessarily thought of. But that's the way that we grow and develop in life. But this one is good because I think it's very positive, because like a year ago, would you have thought you'd be publishing a magazine?
Definitely not. I mean, a year ago, a lot of things have changed in the year. Like, I've moved into the house where I've got my own office space and everything now to be able to sit and concentrate on it all. And a year ago, I wouldn't think that the magazine would be where it is now, as opposed to the idea on a scrap of paper that it was back then.
So it's gone from the scrap of paper to a full-fledged magazine available on 2 internet sites and available to whoever. I mean, like, your audience is unlimited in many ways, and I think that you have made an extremely valuable resource. And the great thing too is it's free, because you don't have a subscription fee as yet, do you?
No, it's a free download and it's free to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. This is really wonderful. Well, we have some very interesting areas that we've talked about today. So I'm just wondering, do you have any words of advice to leave with our listeners about, if they've got an idea and they want to create a business or go with something, what would you advise?
I would advise to just do it, because it's scary, but it's also so rewarding. Obviously, it's not a bad thing if your listeners are those that just want to have their job so that they carry on knowing the security, and the unsecurity of having a business is scary, but it can be so exciting at the same time.
Yeah, I remember too, like 10 years ago, I went into coaching and it was about the same thing. And it doesn't change, but it's just so exciting. But I'd like to thank you so much, Hannah, for being with us today and telling us about these truly exciting developments and about your business and how different it is to work for yourself. And definitely we all have that capacity. So with that, I'd like to say to our listeners that I really hope you find some great takeaways from our discussion today. And if you want further information from Hannah, please go to her website, which is Empowered Virtual Assistant. I'll spell this. It's the word empowered, virtual, and then ASST, period, wordpress.com. And she is also contactable through Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you want further information or want to talk about more ideas with me, contact me through my website, thepassionmotivator.com, or by email at coachcaroldavies@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. And remember, like Hannah, you can change your life at any time and become the success you want to be. Bye now.
Tune in every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern for Only the Best for You with Carol Davies on Global Voice Radio.